Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Ryan.
John. How are you doing today?
Very good, very good. And you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
How is Chicago today?
Gorgeous. Great fall day. Sunny, no humidity, 80 degrees. Can't complain. How about Columbia? You look cold.
Yes, it is freezing here. I have me with my gloves. I have also this, is my partner for all the day.
All right, well, stay inside, stay warm, turn the heat up, do what you got to do. But so we'll both survive. But hey, today we're here to talk about, well, ChatGPT Model 5. It's exciting and people don't know how to use it, it appears.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
It was
So,
released 1 month ago, no? Like
yeah,
August 7, something like this.
yeah, and then the backlash was so severe that they re-released 4.0 as a legacy model for people to use because they missed it so much. But I think that's what we're here to talk about, right? Like, you know, the Model 5, GPT-5, at least from OpenAI and our usage is a much more universal, all-in-one model, right? But people didn't like that it was colder, less fun than 4.0 or some of the older models. But your opinion, which I agree with, is that that's not the case. It's just that GPT-5 is so much different. People don't know how to talk to it. They don't know what their prompts and how they should form them. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. And and I want to start something here. I will take that Spider-Man quote with a big power, a big responsibility you have. Uh, Something that we found, Ryan, in many sessions with companies, mentorings, and sharing with business owners, business leaders, business people, is they are using ChatGPT or other general AI tools, generative AI tools, in default mode. So most of the times they don't know which model are using or creating the right settings for the environment they are using. So I want to propose for our audience quick questions. No matter if you are on ChatGPT or Gemini or Anthropic, all are good. And I want to start saying that think in the large language models as the same book with different editions. So if all of us has the same book with different edition, what could make us to be different, better, unique if we are getting the same information? So the question here it is for everyone. First, do you have the right settings for your account in the GPT, ChatGPT, or your other platforms? And when I mean the settings, it is that system global prompt for you. How do you want the behavior? How do you want the platform response to you? Also choose, for example, the personality for the ChatGPT. You can use the default, the robot, the geek. It has several options. The second one, it is, are you managing your conversations only in the default mode or are you using projects? The project has specific instructions too. So with two simple questions, you can start understanding if you are really taking the advantage of these technologies. And the last one, it is before start a conversation, you decide or think at least which is the best model you can use for the conversation, or just use the auto mode and delegate to the GPT the decision for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you and I found this out, and you call it the global prompt, I call it the base prompt in GPT, but we found through experimentation, using identical prompts that just that global or base prompt, using the same model and the same prompt, will get you wildly different results. And I mean, it's not even close. So it really, really does matter. But that's great. I mean, I think those are great tips, and I totally agree. Right. I'm a big fan of using auto mode, but mostly because when I'm in GPT, I'm not really asking to do any vibe coding or things like that. But projects are absolutely key, and so is the global prompt. But let's take a step back because you know we're here to tell people how they can use ChatGPT 5 better. But why are so many people complaining about GPT-5 compared to 4.0 or some of the other older models?
Uh, I think, Ryan, there are many things that change with the new GPT model, with the version 5. And let's say the first big change it is GPT 4.0 or the 4.1 or even the 4.5 was intelligence model. That means that has a very good database, are very good solving simple challenge, also complex challenge, and giving you the information, but more based on the probabilities they use to create the next word and solving the challenge. But there are other models, all from the O3, O4 families, that was the reasoning models. And those models has the option or the skill to decide, to change the behavior and move from the specific question and drive the user to a better mindset. And they have a chain of thought. But something that changed with GPT-5, it is both, um, yes, both thinking process are in the same model. GPT-5, that is more reasoning model, also has the intelligence. And now the model has the option to work and decide which parts of your request, let's call prompt, which part of the prompt will be solved with intelligence, with reasoning, and also decide the reasoning effort that the model can make. And that also adds difference levels. For that, say I ask, are you using in auto mode or deciding to use the instant, that is quick replies, or the thinking, or even the pro model that takes more time to think and decide? And that makes a huge change. The other thing it is, when you have a reasoning model that can not only have a change of thought, but also decide how much effort can make in the thinking process and split the request in many other chains of thoughts, is like you are starting to have conversations with a PhD level degree with decades of experience, and you need to have a smart conversation. This is not only to say hello, how are you? It is to have deep insights, deep conversations. So that also makes that you create better prompts, better questions. Take your time also as the model to think, to replicate the next interaction. And that change makes many people feel that the model doesn't work in the best way. Another interesting thing, it is more reasoning model. That means you have a conversation with a most logical, let's say, person here. So most logical person maybe is less emotional, less polite, less friendly, and many people feel that change in the conversation.
No, that makes a lot of sense. But people in general fear change, but they got used to talking to GPT 4.0, 4.5, and it being really friendly, right? And because they weren't using the reasoning models, and now that's built into 5. Five's the all-in-one model, if you will, and they just don't like how it responds. But your very first point before we got into why people don't like it is the simplest, quickest, easiest way to change that, right? Um, Tell it to be friendly. You can tell it. You can no questions asked. You don't have to say please or thank you. In fact, OpenAI doesn't want you to say please and thank you. They prefer you don't. It costs them money. Um, but okay, that's great. So now we understand the difference between ChatGPT 5 and the older models. We understand, why people may not be a huge fan when they were so used to the old models. We also know how a really easy way to change that just within the settings itself. Tell ChatGPT to just be friendly. Go into the settings, people, and there's ChatGPT has a whole thing that says, "How do you want me to respond to you?" Just tell it how you want to respond. Then you can do some very cool things in there about how you want to respond. But if you don't want to go down that rabbit hole, just tell it to be friendly and fun and helpful. That's good enough. But to beyond that, right? We want to be here today in the next 19 minutes and tell people how they can make better use of GTP5 through their prompts. So let's start with first, what really is a prompt? Like, because a prompt isn't saying the please and thank yous don't matter. The AI presumably doesn't care that you say please and thank you, but it does care how you phrase your prompt or your question or your command. So how about you let people know really what is a prompt?
Uh, for sure, that is the most important question for today. What is a prompt? First, I want to highlight a bad news for many people. And you said people doesn't like change, but AI, generative AI, GPT-5, and all the other brands keep changing, improving, evolving. So we will have changes faster than the last years. So we need to embrace and love change. That is the first good news, or bad for others. What is a prompt? I want to share a different vision of the prompt. And prompt it is about strategy. Prompt is also an art. Prompt is about delegation to the generative AI what we need. What we need. Prompt it is also, and I have the word here, an strategic trade-off of the knowledge. And prompt it is so much important today because natural language it is the programming language for the generative AI. In the old days, you need to learn C++, Python, .NET, Java, and many other languages to build applications, to build AI. Python, C++ maybe was the most important language in AI, programming language. But now you can only with natural language programming, and that is about prompts. And you can give a prompt to a generative AI solution and you receive an answer. That answer could be text, could be arts, images, videos, audios, could be a spreadsheet, could be a presentation, or in fact, could be code or databases or queries on many other things. But prompt is that art to delegate and make the right questions or the right instructions to the Gen AI. So prompt it is the most important today, maybe for many people and companies, because it is that interface and language to make the best and the most with the generative AI. And that makes that language matter most than any other thing. And I want to take my English speaking here. I'm not English native speaker, so for sure I have many bad conjugations, manage the times, and many things. But if I improve that part, or use, let's say, a translator, or ask to the Gen AI to help me to translate and improve the English, I get a better prompt and increase the accuracy, the performance, the efficiency of the prompt. So that is when the language now, a good grammar, redaction, edition matters most today to create good prompts.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, and you're right. I think what's really helpful to people because if you're a technology expert, right, you probably know what makes a good prompt. And I think a lot of people maybe don't because part of making a good prompt isn't just telling it to do something or asking it to answer a question. It's also telling it what not to do and how to do things and in what ways to respond, right? So I think maybe could you give us some tips, John? Like, what are your best tips? John's best tips on what makes a good prompt, whether it's a question or a command. What makes a good prompt, especially in Chat GPT-5?
Great. The first two tips before prompting it is go to the documentation. If we are talking about GPT, go to the OpenAI, read what is new in the GPT-5 model, use the prompting guides they have, also get information. Anthropic has very good articles and blogs for reduce hallucinations to understand prompts. So you need to get that documentation, and that is important. As all the other knowledge areas that we have as humankind, maybe if you are a marketer, a financial leader, or any other area, you in your past have to read books, articles, blog. Make the same here. That is the first part. And second, and the tip it is you need to have a clear vision. There are many frameworks for create prompts. I will share the most basic framework, but with the tips that help us in any queue to create and write good prompts. First, you need to assign a role, but a good role is not write something like act as an expert or something. You need to really say what is that expertise. And I have an exercise that I want to propose that you could run in your Gen AI tool to understand why it is important, add that knowledge areas, skills on the expertise. Write to your Gen AI tool and say something like, you are a university and you have many programs and many degrees. Create at least a list of 500 different programs, degrees, lectures, and knowledge areas that you can manage. And you will be surprised with the answer. You will get science, human science, arts, writing, technology, and many other areas. So when you say act as expert, you need to say it in which specific and which not you need in that expertise. Second part, you need to have a clear goal. Clear goal could be, as the strategy said, use the SMART goals. It must be specific. You need to have at least something, or a way to measure that you have the right quality and accuracy in the result. That is important in the goal. Because if you say my goal it is create a presentation that is too broad. But if you say I want a presentation of 10 slides for my pitch decks, let's say for investors in this specific audience, and start giving the structure, it is different from the Gen AI. The third part it is add your process, your steps. What do you want to execute, and what is that logical order? And that is important because Gen AI can create that for you, but will be general way. Maybe you have that steps and order that makes you unique that could help you to make a better process. So you can say first, go and review my documents, my knowledge base. Second, make research on internet, and don't say things like use only trust sources because that is an ambiguous concept. If you want to say use trust sources, you can say it, for example, I like Microsoft, Google, AWS, McKinsey, Singularity University. That is for your business, for your context, the trust sources. And you can say something like, I don't like specific blogs or general blogs or forums because I don't trust in that information. You need to be specific in that part. You need to give the steps. You also need to give the output format. How do you want the information? If we are talking to get a presentation deck, I can get instructions, and the step by step to create my presentation, or the text and instructions to create images. Or for example, I can ask to get the visual basic applications code to create the full presentation in PowerPoint. or I can ask to create in Google Slides or other applications, or give me the Python code to create a web page with my application, with my deck. So it is important to set the output format. It is also important to set the restrictions, the guardrails for your prompt. What could not made? When can decide, when not? What could be, let's say, creative invent in that prompt, and what need to be fixed or fixed in the execution. And that is important because most of the times hallucinations in the Gen AI comes from a bad prompt that makes too broad for the large language model, the decisions, the knowledge areas, and many things. So ambiguity creates hallucinations. And also, you should need to add, for example, a style, the tone, work with the parameters for the large language model. And I know that could be many tips, but starting at least using that part, helping you to create better prompts, not average prompts that gets the same result for millions of people today.
That is a lot of tips, but I think all extremely good tips, John. So to summarize here, right, you need to tell the model who they are, right? Who you want them to solve this question or problem or command, as, right? And then give them as much information about who they are as can be helpful, right? So, if you're, let's say, looking for a new laptop, right? You could tell them that they're home computer expert in both repair and building, and that they work for Best Buy or a Micro Center, and that you want them to find you a new laptop, but that laptop should have a screen that's this size or this size. It should be for home use or portable, for gaming or for business, and all those sorts of things, right? The more information you give in the prompt about who the agent is, what you're looking for, what to include, what not to include, how to respond, how to output the information, how to summarize the information. The more you go down that, the better. So a simple question like, and I think the problem goes back to, Google and search engines have been around for decades now. And people just got so used to typing very simple requests into things like Google, which is funny because for years Google has had is extremely powerful search, but most people don't actually know how to use it. They don't know that you can command Google to look for something on like a specific website with a very simple command editor on there. So that's kind of part of the problem, is that they got so used to the simplicity of that. But so just asking ChatGPT, find me a new laptop, not going to be super helpful. You ask it to find a Windows laptop under $1,000 that is ideal for running extremely large Excel spreadsheets, and it has a screen size of X, but is still portable with super long battery life. You're going to get a much better response otherwise. So I think that's great. All right. Well, hey, we're running low on time. So we've talked about why people don't like ChatGPT 5, or maybe some people don't. We've talked about what the difference is between ChatGPT 5 and 4.0, what a prompt really is, and what makes a good prompt. We've talked about GPT settings to instruct ChatGPT to respond how you want to respond. I'd say, just to wrap this up, what's your final tip? What's your most important thing about, how to utilize ChatGPT 5 better if you're not super familiar with it and you just really pine for, the old days of 4.0?
Uh, First, I don't miss the 4.0. I really enjoy how the 5 model is working. One important tip it is think in the large language models, not only GPT-5, as a energy saver brain. So that means are lazy. If you don't give the full instructions, it will take the shortest path to directly to you anything. And that is the less effort. So when you give better details, you are also pushing the model to make the best effort. Also efficient, but best effort for you. Um, Tips about prompting, I could say one, you need to understand that there are different prompts level and categories. You have, as you want to call, the base prompt in your account, your global prompt, as I called you, as I call. You have intermediate prompts, and that is another level. For example, when you have a project or folder and all the conversations get instructions into that prompt. You have the conversation prompt, but also you have small agent prompts like gems in Gemini or custom GPTs in the chat GPT, and is high level agent prompts when you are building a AI agent. So that means that there is not a magic formula to build prompts, and you need to understand that prompting it is about iteration. It is about evolving and improving. So, final tip for me, it is don't wait or don't push your hopes and your eggs in only one prompt. Make variations, iterate the prompt, open many conversations and at least two of them with different model, same prompt. Make change, explore, because criteria it is the most important skill today for the human side to be an expert user on the generative AI. Second thing, and this is at least today more on ChatGPT side, use the branch conversations. That helps you to have a prompt, but sometimes you want to explore different alternatives or questions and keep the conversation. Use the branch conversation that help you to explore that other part. Prompt, it is not only about the first interaction in one conversation. Prompt is also how you keep developing that conversation with the Gen AI. So you need to always think each interaction, be sure that give the right context, take your time to think. And at least with those things, you could get better results with the Gen AI. Could GPT-5 or the other brands?
I love that last one. I worry that so many people just keep asking these GPTs question after question after question in the same branch, and they're all completely different, and they don't realize that the GPT obviously has memory, and it can get confused and that can cause hallucinations, right? But if you ask it a question and you don't love the answer, just keep iterating on that question over and over again. Say, no, I don't like that. Answer a different way. Do it like this. And you can drill down. But anyway, so we're running out of time here. John, thank you so much. I think for everybody who's listening, thank you so much. We love the new 5.0 model. It's integrated into AnyQ today. If you're interested in checking it out, and what we do, scan the QR code for a free trial and a discount on our normal monthly service. And with that, I want to say thank you, John. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks to you, Ryan. See you next Wednesday. We could have a
Sounds great.
new live version.
Awesome.